This is the Business Elite Brevard Edition podcast. Grab a pen, grab a paper, and get settled in, because here's another rockstar episode featuring the biggest movers, shakers, and industry leaders from the Space Coast of Florida.
And there we have it. Good day, everybody. This is your host, Jesse Hall, and this is Business Elite Brevard Edition, your local Space Coast podcast featuring influencers, innovators, and industry leaders here on the Space Coast. Today in the studio, I've been thrilled to know he was coming on board finally, and he's finally in the studio. So we're welcoming Michael Ayers with the Melbourne Regional Chamber of Commerce. He is our special guest today, and again, another influencer that I follow, someone who is always in the know, always has his pulse or finger on the pulse of the business climate here on the Space Coast, and certainly someone who rubs shoulders with a lot of cool people. I like to consider him a friend. Michael, welcome to the show.
Jesse, thank you very much for the opportunity. Happy to be here.
So let's dive right in. A lot of people may not be familiar with the Chamber of Commerce, what it does, what its function is. But before we get all into that and explain to people why it's important to maybe join a chamber. Do you have a business? Why you're not with the Chamber of Commerce? Why you're not with maybe a couple of Chamber of Commerce? So we're going to dive into that a little bit later and really sink our teeth into it. But for now, let's talk about who you are, what makes you tick, and explore some of what Michael has in for his future, and of course, just explore a little bit of your past. Where were you born and raised?
So I am a Midwest farm kid from Central Illinois. Grew up in the cornfields.
Is that right? And that wasn't the life for you?
I think I figured that out very early on, that even though I loved growing up on the farm and loved the hard work, that I thought there was maybe something else out there for me.
Sure. So what was your first taste of outside of the cornfields? Was it school or a vacation?
Probably vacation. We
Yeah.
would vacation periodically and go, down to Florida, out east.
So you were already coming down here as a kid?
A few times.
Okay. So you got familiar with it, like, wow, this is not Kansas no more. This is beaches and palm trees. And
Yes.
Yeah.
Whole new world.
Yeah, and a lot of people, they don't leave after they visit Florida. So let's talk about your education. Did you always go to school in Illinois, or did you move around?
No, I was a third-generation Fighting Illini at the University of Illinois in Champaign.
Very cool.
So from birth till 21,
Right.
I was always in Illinois.
Is that right? So till 21. And then what made you come down to Florida?
Well, first off, when I finished college, I took a detour to Washington, D.C.
Oh.
Yes, that was my first foray out of the cornfields.
So let's talk about your education. What did you graduate with?
Bachelor's in Business Administration with focus on marketing.
Very cool. And what in D.C. prompted you to go there? What was the interest there?
I needed a job.
Right.
And
Most people do.
I was one of the few people in my class that graduated
Right.
that didn't have a job when they finished. And I'd always grown up around politics. I had a very politically active family. From
right?
my father was the chair of the local Republican Party there in Illinois.
How cool.
And the county party, not the state party. He ran for state office at one point. He ran for state house. Didn't win. I think it was a blessing. He was kind of relieved when that was done.
That's funny.
My uncle was the mayor.
Oh, wow.
He's now the chair of the party.
Nice.
So, I grew up around it, but
Right.
really had no thought whatsoever that I would go into it. And then right after graduation, a couple friends said, "Hey, we're going to go to D.C. and look for jobs." And I said, "Okay."
So you went to D.C. first without a job?
Went there with no job.
Wow.
I interned
That's
during
gutsy.
the day
Yeah.
and waited tables at night.
That's how most young people aspire. You got to start somewhere.
Had to work my way up.
Yeah.
I had no experience. It was probably kind of crazy and foolish to go out there with. I had never interned on the Hill. I had no real experience.
When you're 21 years of age, why not?
It was fun. I was
when
young.
else are you gonna do that?
It was great. I considered it my grad school. instead of going to actual school, I just went to D.C. and tried to find a job.
Oh, you'll get learned there. you will grow up real quick in a city like that, you know.
Yes.
Just because of the climate, you know. I mean, it's a very fast paced, very high intellect, you know, kind of part of the world. So you're gonna kind of just dive in the deep end, you know, to use a cliche. You are baptism by fire, even being that it's DC. So what position were you in? What kind of?
So I worked for the House. I was started as a staff assistant for the House Committee on Government Reform.
Well, that's cool. I mean, that's powerful stuff right there.
And then went back to the office. I'd interned with Congressman Robin Hayes from North Carolina, and his office had an opening for legislative correspondent. So I went back there and spent a couple years there, and then kind of got bored and said, I think I want to go work on a campaign.
Is that right? Well, campaigning is big business.
Yes, it is. It has become so.
Yeah. So tell us about some of your campaign experience.
So in 2004, I worked on the Illinois Senate race. There was an open Senate seat, and I worked for the guy running against Barack Obama, who at the time was a state senator from Illinois that most people had never heard of. And we all know what happened after that. My guy obviously didn't win. He actually dropped out mid-race. He had some controversy in his background.
Oh, before the primaries even, huh?
He won the primary.
Oh, he did?
So we were facing off against
the challenger.
Yes, yeah. And then he had to drop out, and that's what brought me to Florida.
So what exactly brought you to Florida? I mean, ending the campaign early.
So the campaign was supposed to go through November,
right?
And it ended in June, and they, my candidate felt bad, so he was going to continue to pay us if we wanted to just stay on the payroll, since he was self-funding anyway.
Right.
But I had a friend who had some ties to the RNC, and they said, well, you can go and work on the presidential campaign. And I said, okay.
There you go.
So I had a phone call with the Missouri Bush Cheney and the Florida Bush Cheney. And all of a sudden they said, how fast can you drive down to Brevard County?
No way. And just like that. So
3 days later, I was in Cocoa Beach.
So politics are early on through your family, and then that catapulted you with your interest in politics to go to D.C., which then in turn gave you like a nice streamlined, there's a job, there's your home, head to Florida. It's like being granted a vacation. Yeah,
it was great. I had a good time. I moved here, and then I think that was right about 2 weeks before the 4 hurricanes hit in a row, and I wondered what in the world was I doing here.
Yeah.
I was used to tornadoes, but I'd never been through a hurricane.
Well, hurricanes are a lot more fun because you could see them coming, you could chart them and plot them. And,
very different.
Most different. I don't know. They just came out with early response technology to indicate that a tornado is coming, from what I understand, but it only gives you like 3 minutes notice.
Right. You have very little notice.
Yeah. I mean, enough time to get down to the basement.
That's why you have basements.
Exactly.
I do miss the basements.
Do you miss some basement parties for the tornadoes? All right. Well, so Bush Cheney invited down to Florida. Of course, you're still here. How long did that last?
So that ran through the November election, and then I stuck around and ended up working on the governor's race in 2006.
Very cool.
And that took me to Tallahassee.
And did you stay up there full time?
So after Charlie Crist won the election, I moved full time to Tallahassee and worked for the Crist administration, and then stayed on under the Scott administration, and then came back down to the Space Coast back in 2015.
And I know you've been with the chamber about since that time. Did you come back and immediately get with the chamber?
No. So I started with the chamber about 1.5 years ago. When I first left Tallahassee, I took a job in Orlando. I was the director of government relations for Sanford Burnham Biomedical Research, and did lobbying for funding for different programs.
I've always been very curious about the lobbying. Is that a fun industry? I mean, it seems like it could be a lot of fun.
I think it's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
It's kind of unique.
Right.
It's not for everyone.
No, you got to be pretty assertive, outgoing.
Yeah.
You got to convince these people, with so many dinners and toast of wine, and
it's a lot of strategy.
Yeah.
If you're a competitor, if you like to compete, then
Right.
it's a fun industry.
Very cool.
Very competitive.
See, any future lobbyists out there, you got to refer to Michael. Maybe he could offer you some insight as to some career choices. Because lobbying, it doesn't seem like it's just something you learn. It's you got to be in the political space, and then somebody recruits you and says, hey, help us fight our battle.
Very much.
Yeah, you have influence. We need you.
Yes.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
A lot of my former colleagues were, student government representatives or student government presidents. They politics can get in your blood, and then it never leaves, and it can become a career.
Do you miss it?
Some days, yes, but
Yeah.
most of the time, no.
No. And I'm imagining, because after the lobbying, and then you recruited to regional chamber?
So probably about 2 years ago, there was the opportunity at the chamber, and I was looking for something. I was working in Orlando but living in West Melbourne,
Right.
and kind of tired of the commute and looking for an opportunity here locally on the Space Coast, and the chamber job came open, and I said, well, it's something I've not ever done before, but I've done a lot of politics, and this is just a different kind of politics.
Right. Yeah, it's not political parties. It's more like businesses and the public and relationships.
Networking. Yes, a lot of similarities.
That's awesome. So let's talk about. So now we got kind of through some of your career. Tell us about your family nowadays.
Yeah, I have a wonderful 13-year-old son who's in 8th grade.
Very cool. Just started school.
Yeah, just went back
Yeah.
back for 8th grade, and I am engaged to the most amazing woman that I'm very happy that we'll be getting married in about 31 days, I think.
Is that right?
Yes.
Oh my goodness, it's a bachelor show here, Business League, the bachelor party show with Michael Ayers. Awesome, Michael. So everything's kind of coming to fruition now.
Yes.
Like your
Life is great.
You're coming into your own. You got your family. You got your career. Do you miss politics, or is the Melbourne Regional Chamber keeping you so busy, so occupied that it's a...
Yeah, I really don't have time to miss it.
Right.
There's every day is something different, and the Space Coast is booming. So,
Yes.
I really don't have time to miss it.
Exactly. So tell us about your proudest moment so far throughout your throughout that career. So from DC to Bush Cheney to Tallahassee with Governor Christ. Like, was there a highlight that you like to recall?
Oh, geez, there's probably lots of highlights.
Right.
I think one of the highlights was probably in after the 2004 election, getting to work on the inauguration.
That must be
Bush
fascinating.
Cheney. I was part of the inaugural committee staff. So, as soon as the election ended, I moved back to D.C., and it was about a 6-week. We knew it was a time-limited gig,
Right.
but it was a lot of fun. Got to meet. I worked on planning the convention balls.
No way.
So I worked on the Texas-Wyoming ball, because that was
Right.
that was the main ball for the president and the vice president.
Yeah.
So it was a lot of fun.
No, that sounds amazing. Man, see, we're learning so much about you today. So let's dive in, because again, I want to share always a background with who we're speaking with. I want to give the audience kind of some
Good
insight.
to know where people are from.
Yeah, because a lot of times, unless they
How
know
they got
you,
here.
exactly. Unless they know you, are they going to trust you? Are they going to be intrigued with what you say and talk about? For me, at least as a listener, I really like to get to know who I'm listening to, so I could trust their information, so I could believe, in their heart that they are who they are, and maybe people can identify with you. Like, hey, I used to do that too. Hey, I worked in DC, and that and a little bit of familiarity really helps the listener as well. Say, okay, now I care about the guy, kind of thing. So awesome. So we are having a great time here with Michael Ayers from the Melbourne Regional Chamber of Commerce. And as soon as we come back from this little break, just stay tuned. We're going to come back and we're going to dive into why the Melbourne Regional Chamber is good for your business, and chambers of commerce in general.
Sounds
like,
good.
Like, why is that important? All right, stay tuned. Don't go anywhere.
Grab a pen, grab a paper, get settled in, because here's another Rockstar episode featuring the biggest movie.
Hey, I'm Vinny with the all-new Vinny Marino podcast. I want you to join me every other Monday as we tackle all the craziest headlines from around Florida and truly explore and uncover what's missing. Also, we will invite the exciting guests from our community who have seen it all and aren't afraid to spill the beans about it. And finally, we can't forget about Vinny's top 3 rants and raves about traffic, restaurants, and events. Join us on Facebook as we go live and bring you behind the scenes of each show and let you be a part of it. The Vinny Marino Podcast, all Space Coast, super raw and unedited, straight to your dome all the time, live from the Space Coast Podcast Studios. Listen everywhere you find podcasts.
Hey, make sure you check out Space Cowboy Justice with your hosts, Blake Stewart and Paul Daly. We're going to be talking about interesting legal issues in the entertainment industry and everything geek. If you're into Star Wars, Star Trek, Lord of the Rings, comic books, we're talking about it. Coming at you from the Space Coast Podcast Studios.
You're listening to Space Coast Podcast, home of the greatest podcasts on the Space Coast. If you're interested in becoming a sponsor or having your own show, email us at spacecoastpodcast@hotmail.com.
Space Coast Podcast.
Talk hard!
All right, we're coming back. Thanks so much for sticking around. Once again, your host, Jesse Hall. This is the Business Elite Brevard Edition podcast. And again, I call it the Brevard Edition because we are looking to franchise. If you know anybody in another part of Florida or the world who would like a Business Elite podcast of their own, have them reach out. I'd be more than happy to set them up and get them going so that we could explore, again, not just the Space Coast industry leaders, influencers, and innovators, but also all around Florida, because there's a lot of people who are making moves behind the scenes that I think people should really get to know and learn about, because, you know, it's not often where people will actually be proactive and investigate on their own, right? So they're going to find out things only if it makes headlines, only if it comes in the news, or, you know, they may say, well, I didn't know that business was coming to town, and now here they are, and, you know, and it's exciting, but wouldn't it be cool to kind of see, we get introduced to some of these people who are actually increasing the amount of businesses coming to Florida, given these incentives to businesses so they could move their operations, move their staff to Florida. So that's why, we introduce the people who are leading the way, leading the charge. And one of them, again, is Michael Ayers. Michael has been with the Melbourne Regional Chamber of Commerce now for, you said, a year and a half? It feels like 2 years.
January of 2018.
So it'll be 2 years.
Getting close to 2 years.
Yeah, man. Yeah. So what has been your proudest moment as the president of the Melbourne Regional Chamber of Commerce?
Wow, that's a great question. There's so many. I think that's the most exciting thing about the job is every week I don't know what we're going to be doing.
Right.
We have lots of different events. We have lots of different ribbon cuts. We get to welcome different businesses. I think one of the most exciting and proud moments was last year at our we have what's known as the Valor Awards. It's one of our signature events. And
yes.
The Valor Awards is coming up in 2 days, August 22nd.
That was not on my calendar. How did I miss that?
I don't know. You got to be there.
I know.
But so last year was our 10th anniversary of the Valor Awards. Mm-hmm. And for those of you that don't know, the Valor Awards is our opportunity as a community and as the business community to recognize the heroic efforts of our law enforcement and first responders and military, those of us who serve locally and don't probably get thanked as often as they should. So it's a night in tribute to them. We award various medals of valor. And so last year was my first time ever attending that event, and it was special because it was the 10th anniversary. And we even had a special guest appearance from the governor, Governor Scott at the time.
I remember. Yeah.
Yes. So that was probably, that was a really cool night to have the governor there, to have all these law enforcement and first responders in uniform getting the recognition they so clearly deserve and don't often get.
Exactly.
And packed house, sellout. I think we had about 375 people in attendance.
Wow.
It's sold out again this year. So we're just very excited to be able to put that event on and recognize that law enforcement first responder community.
Yeah, and there's never been a more deserving time. A lot of, if you look at some of the political landscape, it seems that, law enforcement are getting severely disrespected.
All over.
So it's important that people recognize, when you're in trouble, who do you call?
Right.
So you could hate them all you want, but who are you going to call when you're in trouble? You may not like a few bad apples, when they make the headlines of, maybe abusing their privilege or whatever may have you, whatever the incident may have occurred. But you got to remember, these are people who put their lives on the line every day. They put on that uniform, they put on that belt. They have the responsibility of, maintaining order in our communities. And without them, what would our communities look like? Everybody be speeding. Everybody, there'd be burglarizations. I mean, there'd be all kinds of different things if there wasn't police to be there to help us and protect us. So, yeah, not only do they need an award, but I think they need to be treated a little bit better, when it comes to pensions and some other things. But that's another topic for another day, because even like discounts, like you hear of military discounts, but you don't hear of first responder discounts.
Right. Yeah.
Probably
a lot more we could be doing.
There's a lot more we could be doing, and if you think it's cool to disrespect your law enforcement and shame them at a Starbucks, please, by all means, just I don't know.
One of our members said it well last year that you don't want them when you see in the headlights, you see someone, you're being pulled over for speeding, you hate to see them, but in your time of need, when you have a fire in your house or you get robbed on the side of the road, there's so many times in your time of need, who are you going to call? And often it's to one of our first responder agencies, and they always come and they're there for you. And
they do, and they respond with quickness, and they're just there to help. And if you ever get around, a police officer, like, do the opposite. Don't shame them. Like, actually thank them. Give them some gratitude.
Buy their meal. Buy their coffee.
It goes such a long way. And we have a lot of conversations here in the studio with law enforcement officers, and we have actually a couple of hosts who are active law enforcement. And I'll tell you what, it goes a long way when just a little bit of recognition. Really goes a long way. They really feel appreciated. They don't do it for the money.
Right.
Like there's no reward, there's no compensation if they get shot in the line of duty. It's really a mission for them. It's a calling. Like I said, you're not there for the money. You're not there for the celebrity.
No.
You're there because it's a calling, and you feel like you care so much about your community that I'm willing to take a bullet for one of my citizens. I'm willing to get in between, a rabid dog or jump into an inferno, a building caught on fire or something. These are the people who are, again, it's more of like a passion.
Yeah, they put their lives on the line every single day, never knowing what they're going to walk into.
So that's important. Talk more about where that is. Is there tickets available?
So it just today became sold out.
Oh, congratulations.
Yes.
I'd love to see things sold out.
That's great. It's at the Hilton Rialto.
Yep. Great venue.
Thursday night, 5:30 reception, 6:30 dinner and program. So if you're lucky enough to have a ticket, then we look forward to seeing you there. If you didn't get your ticket yet, I think we have a waiting list. We can see if we have any cancellations, but we're very excited. That event always sells out, at least the last couple of years, and so we're really happy we can provide that recognition.
Man, anytime that we could celebrate our first responders is a great night in the community. Who's going to be the guest of honor?
We have, so last year was, our guests of honor are our award recipients.
Right.
And, last year was kind of a special last minute. The governor happened to be in town and we're able to get him to come over.
That's very cool.
I don't anticipate any special guest appearances this year.
Okay.
But we'll have our sheriff will be there, all our police chiefs from around the county, all of our officers and award winners.
Right.
So it'll be a room full of very deserving guests, and we're happy to recognize them.
And we do have a celebrity sheriff. And I'll tell you
we
what,
do.
Whenever he shows up, man, it's a party. He knows how to get down and have a great time, get the crowd involved. So there you go. It's sold out. Otherwise, I'd love to help you plug it, but there's no need to plug it any further.
Don't worry, there's plenty of other events we can plug.
Yes. Well, let's get into that because I know the chamber is involved. And for people who don't know what the functionality of a chamber is, let's dive into that.
Sure. So, chambers of commerce have been around for hundreds of years, and they've really always historically been the connectors in the community,
right,
and where people go to help promote their businesses, promote their nonprofits, help get involved with the community. And, chambers need to continue to evolve, and I think that's what we're doing. And but we're still, at our bread and butter, we are connectors in the community. And so whether you're a new business starting out, you're new to the community, we are there to help you get connected. We are there to help you provide resources for your business, to help your business grow. We have lots of different committees and councils and events where you can learn. One of the best ones, I think, for our small businesses in particular is our Small Business Council.
Yep.
And you can come once a month. It's the first Tuesday of every month at the Chamber Auditorium. And we have different speakers on various topics, whether it's business law 101 and things you as a small business owner need to be aware of, HR. Most small businesses don't have the ability or the need for a full-time human resource representative,
right,
but they often have challenges in that area. So we have a seminar on that. Insurance, what kind of insurance are you going to need to get started? We have lots of different relevant topics for our small businesses.
And that's available for members or the public?
That is a member
only.
That is a member
So
only.
see,
we always welcome
membership
guests.
has its privileges.
That's right. We always welcome guests and hope that they will become members.
Right.
But that is strictly for our members.
And having been to that council meeting, and I've always enjoyed the Small Business Council. Being a small business person myself, and the Tech Council, because we have so much cool tech.
Yes.
Here in Brevard County, and it's so exciting to see all the new kind of things that are coming out, and of course we always have dynamic speakers who show us things that you wouldn't know there was a demand for.
Yeah. But
then they tell you about the product or service, and you're like, you know what, that makes a lot of sense, and it's happening right here on the Space Coast. A lot of innovation going on. Tell us more about the membership in general. You guys have been established for how long?
We are about to celebrate our 95th anniversary.
95 years.
We've been around a while.
Wow.
We are also, most people don't realize it or understand what it means, but we are a 5-star chamber.
I was going to ask. Yeah, what does it mean?
The U.S. Chamber will accredit chambers throughout the country, and that basically means they come in as the U.S. Chamber comes in and looks at your operations,
right,
and looks at how you are. Do you have professional staff? A lot of chambers don't have full-time staff. We have a staff of 10.
Right.
What kind of programming do you have? Do you have a robust programming schedule that is beneficial to your members? Do you add value to your members? Do you have a government affairs or a business advocacy component to your operation? We have a committee on business advocacy. They look at all of your aspects of operation and ensure that you are running a high-class operation. There are 10 chambers in the state of Florida that are 5-star certified.
So
that's
an exclusive
1%,
group.
Less than 1% nationally are 5-star.
Less than 1%.
So we're very
That's
excited.
huge.
Yes. And that gets recertified every 5 years.
Okay.
So in 2020, we're gearing up for our
reapply.
reevaluation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think you guys will do it again.
I think we got it.
Yeah. Yeah.
We have a little work to do, but we're in good shape.
So you mentioned keeping up with innovations, and keeping from Chamber of Commerce be so, into that archaic model where people have to walk in, grab a business card of, a trusted, chamber member, and then walk out. It's always been kind of like a greeting, center for people who are new to the area. They could get like a nice new packet of all the things, as far as getting utilities turned on, knowing, where to, they could trust to have their pets, groomed or whatever. So a lot of people come into the Chamber of Commerce by habit, but I think the new generation of business owners may not realize how important that is and what the significance it is. So how do you keep a Chamber of Commerce relevant with the such a big tech forward society now?
That's a great question, and it is something that I think chambers struggle with on a day-to-day basis, not just in Florida and in Brevard, but all over the country. Like you said, there's still a place for them. We do serve as a visitor center for the county, so we, believe it or not, in this age of the internet, we do have people that walk in daily and want to get tourist information or relocation packets, and we provide that. But we're much more than that. And, whether it's the programming I talked about where we provide valuable information to our business owners on how they can improve their operations, that's something that we pride ourselves on, and trying to make sure that every event we do, every speaker we have has some tangible takeaways and something valuable that our business owners can take and apply to their business on a day-to-day basis. Exactly. I think another thing that chambers do and serve as is a convener, convener of the community leaders to talk about big issues in communities. And when I say that, I say that the Space Coast, Melbourne, Brevard County, it's growing rapidly, and we can either let it grow or we can plan for that growth. And it's incumbent on the chambers and other organizations like ours to bring those leaders together to be able to communicate what are priorities for the business community that our elected officials should take action on.
Yeah, that's smart.
What are our large companies in the area like Northrop Grumman and Harris and Embraer and Thales, all these companies that are moving here and growing here. Many of them have been on the Space Coast for decades, but they're getting bigger and bigger. What do they need to keep their employees happy? What do they need to keep their employees here? Is it better schools? We already have really good school system, but what can we do to improve the schools? Is it infrastructure? Is it wastewater? Is it the Indian River Lagoon? There's all sorts of policy issues that we need to be able to have an organized voice. And the business community, as a chamber, we have nearly 1,100 members. And of those 1,100 members, several of them, they have thousands and tens of thousands of employees. So if we can get all those people on the same page and harness that power and that voice, we can really go to our county commission and our city council and say, here, these are the priorities for our businesses that represent thousands of workers here on the Space Coast, and this is what we're looking for. We're looking for a more vibrant downtown. We're looking for more arts. We're looking for really good schools. So I think that is a really important aspect to the chamber and something that we're really trying to focus on.
Yeah. And, if you're not familiar, the Melbourne Regional Chamber of Commerce is located on Strawbridge, just west of US 1 and near the downtown Melbourne area.
Right there by City Hall.
Yeah. City Hall is magnificent. They have added a parking garage, and there's a couple other projects downtown. We see skyscrapers for the first time in many, many years in our downtown vicinity.
It is an exciting time to be downtown. As you mentioned, with the big crane right now with the High Line, we're going to have residential apartments there. I think it's 8 stories. And I hear that will be done hopefully by the end of this year or early of 2020. Exciting. So we'll have a place for people to live downtown and enjoy all the fun and interesting stores and restaurants and bars that we have.
A lot of interest down there,
And now right behind Meg O'Malley's, they've started.
Yes.
There's a big hole in the ground
Yes,
where
there is.
they're putting the new Hotel Melby.
Melby.
Is a Hilton Tapestry, a boutique hotel that's going right downtown. It's going to add more tourists and more people walking on the downtown sidewalks. So we're excited to see that.
Yeah, that's like 100 and some odd rooms.
I think it's 160 rooms.
Yeah,
160, 170. And for those concerned about the parking that was there, because it was a parking lot, they're going to have, I think, 35 dedicated public parking spots because they're. As part of the plan for the hotel, it's 11 stories, and I think the first 4 stories.
11 stories.
Yes, the first 4 stories are going to be parking garage, and then the rooms will be above that, and then on the top level there is a rooftop event space and a bar.
I've heard about that. Yeah.
So
Very
we'll
exciting.
have a rooftop bar that will be looking out over the river. So we're really excited to see that project. That's been in the works for many years.
Right.
So it's fun to watch that come to fruition and see them actually turning dirt and making progress.
And it's like you mentioned, it is refreshing to see some of the landscape change, because
it's fun to see those cranes in the skyline.
it is. And coming over even like the Melbourne Causeway heading west, you come across and you crest that bridge, and in the distance you see a new building, and the new floors are being added all the time. So you kind of see something from obscurity, in the horizon to now like a majestic force in horizon.
You've got the condo on the river just north of downtown going up right now. So
yes,
two different towers of condos that'll be available soon. And you've got the lot across from Helen Blazes that they're talking about another hotel. That's still early in the planning stages.
Right.
They've mentioned a loft hotel.
That's the brand, right?
So I don't think there's been any final approvals yet.
Okay.
But the developer is looking at a hotel there. So that would be the second one there in the downtown area.
Well, that space has been for sale for a long time. So at least somebody finally consumed it. I mean, I would have put in parking, garages and charged $15 an hour, but that's just me. That's just me. I'm not sure I would be busy at all at that rate. But certainly there's still a lot of undeveloped land, and there's a demand for people to come into the area. Maybe they don't want to buy a home. Maybe they want to. Maybe they're used to apartment life, but they also want an urban feel. So this would help. Also, a lot of the existing hotels are either on the beach or by the airport, and so having something that's central located to all of our great dining and entertainment down there in that Melbourne district is.
We do have many great hotels
that
are. Many of them are members of ours, and we love our hotels on the beach and by the airport and by the interstate.
Yep.
But this will be something a little unique to have the hotel downtown, so we're excited for that. And I think, with all the development and all the businesses coming in and the tourism, and we haven't even talked about Space Coast Stadium and the USSSA youth.
That was
youth
exciting.
Sports.
Yep.
They're bringing, building up to I think 100,000 room nights per year with all of their tournaments.
That's amazing.
If you drive by that stadium now, they've got 16 turf fields, and pretty much every weekend of the year they have either a baseball tournament or a softball tournament for girls or women or men's slow pitch. Yep. That's an exciting addition to the community.
Yeah, one of my proudest moments was I was invited to DJ the opening tournament there. It was a U18, so that's like 18 and under tournament, and and it's just teams from all over the country. And we interviewed them, right there on the steps, leading up into the bigger stadium field, and just enthusiasm, and people just love the facility. Again, because it took some coercing. We had to get them from their previous spot, I believe in Georgia.
They were in Kissimmee.
Oh, it was a Kissimmee. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. But for them to, again, it takes some convincing. And a big concern is like, we're going to bring lots of families here. Where are they going to stay? And so, again, it's you helping your members realize like, hey, there's some potential here.
Yeah.
Let's get ahead of it and get up another, hotel facility. Let's get some maybe even more restaurants or because they're going to need everything. They're going to need to spill out, not just from the stadium and the facility itself, USSSA. But again, these are families that need to eat, they need to rest, they need to fuel their cars. There's a lot of things. Plus, they also want to be entertained.
Yeah, and anyone who has kids these days knows that the travel sports industry is a booming industry.
Booming, yes.
And it's exciting because we have their world headquarters of the United States Specialty Sports Association, for those of you that didn't know, and they bring tournaments here that attract teams from all over the country. The other day I was at the airport, and there were teams flying in from California and New York and Texas to come to Space Coast Stadium.
That's so cool.
And they're not just staying in Vieira. They're staying in Palm Bay. They're staying at the beach. They're staying in Cocoa Beach. They're staying in Titusville.
Right.
That's why you see hotels going up all over the county right now, because there's not enough inventory. And that stadium has really made a difference. And like you said, there's restaurants coming because those people need places to eat, and they need entertainment. So, you've got all the different entertainment options. You've got the Avenue right there.
Exactly. They
And
just had it at Culver's. They had it at
Brevard
Blaze.
Zoo.
Yep.
You've got all sorts of attractions.
And I've been at the Avenues where the kids would come in on bus, from the tournament and head to Buffalo Wild Wings, or I think there's a Moe's, Mexican, and I remember seeing them there, and they would and again they're enthusiastic. They love our area, so it's really cool to invite these people, give them something that they can enjoy while they're here, and make memories.
Yeah, it's really putting Brevard and Vieira, the whole Space Coast area, on the map nationally. It's exciting.
I'm thrilled, and we just hosted the was it Fast Pitch World Series?
It was the Women's Baseball World Cup.
Baseball World Cup.
That was last year.
Thanks for correcting me. Yeah,
that was
huge.
12 teams from around the world.
Right.
Australia, Korea, Japan, China, Taiwan.
I'm telling you,
Denmark.
People don't realize we're becoming an international hub.
Yeah, that was the first time that event was ever held on U.S. soil. It's always been in Asia or in Europe.
See, that's a feather in our hat.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
All these teams coming to the Space Coast.
Yeah, man. So that's a huge addition, and I'm glad you mentioned that because, when I think of those things, sometimes I just think it's for a few, but honestly, it spills over to our economy in a big way. There's a lot of promise and opportunity for people who can take advantage of this. And I know you guys also help small businesses, like you said, with coaching, with planning, helping them be competitive. What other kind of resources, what other kind of committees can some of your members join that can help them promote and stay competitive?
We have, just this morning before we started talking, I was at our Women of Excellence.
Yes,
and that's a gathering that's every other month where we have women, mainly men are welcome, but mainly women, business leaders from around the county that come and network, get to know each other. And we have an interesting speaker. This morning we had Dana Kilborn, who is the current chair of the Economic Development Commission of the Space Coast. Mm-hmm. Previous speakers include Kathy Cobb, who's the president of Holy Trinity. Yeah. So we always have an interesting, dynamic, inspirational speaker. Kim Brown, who's the president of Boys Electric, former past chair of the chamber board, as Kathy Cobb is. Mm-hmm. So these are really inspiring women who have had very successful careers. And it's great that, we're fortunate to have leaders like these on the Space Coast. And so Women of Excellence is an opportunity for us to feature them and introduce, let our members get a chance to hear from them and hear their journey in their business career. We have an Engage Young Professionals, which is
that's a good group.
Young professional group for all the people coming up in their 20s and 30s that a lot of them are new to the community. They've just been recruited here by Harris or Northrop Grumman, Lockheed Martin, and they don't know much about Brevard. They don't know people. So we're giving them an opportunity to come and check out some of our nightlife establishments, meet with each other, develop their own network that they can grow up with.
And I've been to a couple of those Engage socials, and it's fun. And it's a lively group. You can talk business and have fun.
Yeah. It's possible to do both.
Yeah, exactly.
We try to do
they're not mutually exclusive. Like
That's
fun
right.
and they say don't mix business and pleasure. But I say why not? If you don't love what you're doing, if you're not having a good time with what you're doing, your career choice or whatever profession you decide to do, then why do it? You know.
Right.
So Engage. Women of Excellence. Do you guys have mentorship?
We don't have a specific mentorship program, but we do have a partnership with SCORE, which
That's
is
right.
Retire Executives.
Yes.
And those executives have office hours in our chamber each week where any business owner or someone who has an idea and would like to take that idea to fruition, they can come and meet with these people and give guidance on how they should go about starting their business. And these are some really top-notch people that are retired from some of the companies here in the area.
Right.
It's SCORE, SCORE, and that's a free
It's
service.
an acronym.
Yes.
Yes.
Don't ask me what it stands for.
I forget too. I'm so sorry.
Something Society of Retired Executives.
That makes
like
sense.
that.
And I've actually seen some of their events being posted. And I always click interested because I can't commit to going, but I just want to follow the thread. I just want.
You're one of those that's interested in everything.
I'm always interested. Because otherwise you don't see all the
That's
updates.
right. I do the same thing.
So
and I know in case I can go, I know about it. It
exactly
pops up and reminds me.
Like this morning there was a talk regarding biosolids
Right
in the area.
At the county commission.
Yes, and I was gonna, I'm interested in it. I couldn't go there because of my commitment here this morning. But again, there's a lot of things that you just at least have to try. You have to make an effort to understand what's going on. And I think that's what's powerful about the Melbourne Chamber of Commerce. You guys also have like a calendar online that's updated pretty often.
Yes, you can go to the melbourneregionalchamber.com and see all of our events online. It has everything listed from today's Women of Excellence to our upcoming Engage to our Small Business Council. Our largest event each month is actually our Good Morning Space Coast. So for those of you that are early risers, we start at 7 a.m. on the first Thursday of every month, and we move it around the county. Usually try to go to one of our larger venues because we get about 200 people there each month. And it's a great networking opportunity for all of our members, new members and current members. And we always have a very interesting speaker. For the September 5th Good Morning Space Coast, we have from Pamela Rausch, who's a vice president from Florida Power and Light. So she'll be giving an update from FPL on what they have going on. And hopefully there are no storms coming at that time
Right.
because she may not be able to make it. But and for the next Small Business Council, we're going to hear from Teresa Gremison, who's the president of the Community Foundation for Brevard, to talk about how you can start out now building your legacy and get more involved with some of the different charitable efforts here on the county.
See, I really hope some of our audience listening today takes advantage. If you're a small business owner, again, there are resources out there. You don't have to do this alone. Certainly, if all you do is join and just get that grand opening or ribbon cutting done, that's fun. The community loves that. You get some attention, but really, it's more of you get more when you give more, right? So so when you're involved at such a level, you really get to experience all that power and all those really cool awards that are possible through the chamber. So you guys have like ambassadors.
We do have chamber ambassadors.
And tell us what the role of an ambassador does.
So our ambassadors are great because we couldn't really do what we do and function as we do as a chamber without the help of our ambassadors.
Right.
And our ambassadors are volunteers.
Right.
They're business owners themselves. Many of them are employees of different member companies. And those ambassadors are tasked with helping welcome our new members and get them ingrained in the community. And they are the ones that are out there at all the ribbon cuttings and helping tout what new businesses are coming to the community and making them feel welcome and get connected. So the ambassador program, it's a great way to meet new people. It's a great way to see what's going on in the community and what new is coming. And it's a great way to get to promote your own business because those ambassadors get to go and meet with all these new businesses and tell them about what they do themselves.
Yeah, I've been wanting to qualify to become an ambassador, but you have to commit to a number of things, right?
We like you to commit to certain events each month. At a minimum, our new member workshop, our get involved, get connected orientation session. But we're always looking for more.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I mean, it is a good opportunity, and like I said, you get in You get out what you put in. So the more you are in your community, you're at the networking events, it's just a matter of time before your business is going to succeed.
Yeah, you're going to be top of mind.
Exactly.
The more you show up, the more people realize, okay, the next time I need a carpet cleaner, or the next time I need a realtor, or the next time I need financial advice, you're going to think about, oh, I just met that person at the chamber, and maybe I should give them a call. But, there's also, I don't want people to think you can only get something out of it if you come to events, because we have many chamber members that are members and support our mission and support what we're doing for the community, but they aren't able to come. A lot of our business owners are so busy, they're 24/7 in their own business, but they also know that we are working tirelessly. I have, you mentioned that county commission meeting with the biosolids issue.
Yes.
I have one of my members of my team is at that meeting monitoring that to see what's going on.
I want to hear the feedback.
That's something that, we as a chamber, as I talked about, trying to be the voice of business.
Exactly.
We're there monitoring what our county commission is doing, what our city councils are doing, and we have an open dialogue with them and a partnership with them. And so that's, I think, a very valuable aspect of the chamber that a lot of times people don't realize we're doing that behind the scenes, but we're working on their behalf to help make it easier for them to do business in our county and in our cities.
So let's talk about some of the biggest things on the front burners, things that, we talk about the development of downtown, and we've also talked about some of, why is it such an exciting time to be on the Space Coast. Let's elaborate. What are you excited about as far as all this private enterprise coming into the space industry? Bezos committed so much. Elon has been having a great time here, breaking all kinds of different records, with landing boosters on barges and all kinds of stuff. What are you most excited about?
I'm really excited that when Harris merged with L3,
that was cool.
That they decided to keep their corporate international headquarters here on the Space Coast. And I don't know if people understand how big that is for our community, because L3 was a larger company, headquartered in New York, and it could have been very easy for them to make New York the corporate headquarters or move it to Virginia, halfway in the middle. And so for them to make a statement and say, no, we're going to continue to operate here with the Space Coast as our headquarters, that is huge, because that's one of our that's our largest headquartered company here in the county.
That was very exciting. Yeah.
So very excited about that. I'm very excited about everything going on at the Orlando Melbourne International Airport.
Yeah, let's talk about our great little airport.
We have a phenomenal airport that many people don't know about, and not only is it good for air service, which I'll mention that in a minute, but it's also become a true economic engine of Melbourne and the county, because, with all the companies that are headquartered on airport property right now, during the day, the population of the airport swells to over 20,000.
Is that right?
With, you've got Northrop Grumman there, you've got Thales, you've got Alstom, you've got Embraer.
Satcom.
You've got Satcom, you've got Harris right across the street. You've got all these large corporations with, I think Northrop Grumman has over 4,000 people now on site there. Yeah. And so, without the airport and, under Greg Donovan's leadership and Jack Riles, the airport chair, they're working every day to recruit more businesses to the area, because there's still, as much as has been developed there, there's still a large swath of land that's available for companies to come in and set up shop.
Yeah, and we're making it easier for them to commute.
That's right.
With the extension of Ellis.
That's right. Yeah. Ellis Road Interchange is going to be opening up soon. And, if anyone has not flown out of the MLB airport, it's a phenomenal experience. I mean, I think you can go from your house to the gate in about half an hour, because you park right there. You so walk in. There's no line at the ticket window. You go right through security. There's no line. So
security is a breeze. I mean, I'm telling you, it's my favorite airport. The only drawback was previously there was Delta to Atlanta. Yeah. So if you were connecting in at the Atlanta Heathrow, or not Heathrow, but what's the
Hartsfield.
I always get those messed up. So when you're at Hartsfield, and that's of course, the Delta hub. So there's a connecting flight to everywhere in the world, pretty much. So unless you're getting a connecting flight out of Hartsfield, there wasn't a whole lot up until recently, though. I mean, Spirit's been there; they were offering something back in the day, but now we have, I believe, American.
American is going. You've got Delta going to Atlanta.
Right.
You've got American going to Charlotte. So right there, you've got you're one stop away from any airport you want to go worldwide, practically.
Right.
And even more recently, I think what you're talking about is they've added daily, nonstop service to Philadelphia.
Yes.
That started a couple times a week and is now this fall going to be daily service to Philadelphia. Direct, which is great. And they just recently started direct service to Washington, D.C.A., to the airport right outside our nation's capital.
And that's American doing that?
I think American's doing both Philadelphia and D.C. And so now that we have those, we need our local population to take advantage of that and start taking flights, because
Support your local airport.
The more we fly on that, the more, they're starting I think it's once or twice a week to D.C., but if we can start to fill those planes, that gives them even more reason to start daily flights to D.C. So it's important that you support your local airport and fly out of there, because, why would you go and drive to Orlando and have to get there 2 hours early and park? The parking's not convenient.
It's atrocious.
You've got lines everywhere, traffic. So if you can go and fly out of Melbourne, MLB, Orlando Melbourne International Airport, and if you look at the rates, it's often not that much more expensive.
Not especially when you consider taxes or gas and tolls, the time.
Yes.
It's like,
it's a great value.
It is a great value
experience.
It's really apples to apples.
I highly recommend it.
When you don't have to travel an hour to the airport, because a lot of people use a service like an Uber or taxis or some kind of shuttle, which is $100 each way. So yeah, you may get that $99 Southwest ticket, I guess, if that's if you're a bargain traveler, but you get a classier experience. It's closer to home. When you come back and you're in that arrival line, your friends and family can find you right away. There's nobody like shoving you, so you got to do laps and laps around the arrival terminal.
Yeah.
like I've been known to do for some friends. The airports has been. Used to be kind of like people would consider like a liability. Like, why do we have this when Orlando's so close? But now it's becoming an asset for our community. And like you said, it needs to be abused a lot more. Let's start bookings, exclusively. Let's be good stewards of our community, of our economy, and throw some business at MLB, because they are making moves.
Yeah,
they're
working on a daily basis to attract more direct service. And they've spent tens of millions of dollars the last 2 or 3 years. They have a new air traffic control tower.
Yeah,
because the last one was very outdated, and I think it was 60 years old. They've spent $20 million renovating, repaving both runways.
Right.
And now they're in the process of updating the
terminal. Yeah.
So it's a world. It's going to be a really
I think they said like
first-rate airport.
A $4 million renovation.
Yeah,
is that the right figure?
That sounds right.
Yeah. So
they just opened the new customs hub, so you can, that's why they're looking to attract some more international flights from Europe and Canada and potentially South America.
That'd be cool. Yeah, Latin American flights would be awesome. So, we have we've explored a lot. We've explored a lot of these really cool features in our community. Real quick, I'm just going to put this out there. If anybody on our Facebook feed would like to ask Michael a question, I'll give you a couple minutes. But we're going to wrap up, because I've already taken about 60 minutes of your time here on the air.
Time flies when you're having fun.
Because I could go on and on. I still have lots of questions. So I want to give you, if anybody does have a question, go ahead and type it in the comments on Facebook. And for your listeners, yes, we do go live when we broadcast our show. So make sure you like Space Coast Podcast on Facebook, and you can be part of the behind-the-scenes live stream as we record our podcast. Let's plug any last-minute ribbon cuttings or
You
other
know,
events?
I mentioned a couple other events. We have a few signature events throughout the year, and after the Valor Awards on Thursday, we turn our attention to the Women on the Rise.
Yeah.
That's a wonderful awards program that takes place October 24th, and we are just about to announce our 12 finalists in 4 different categories.
So
For
cool.
those, we have a Women to Watch, Trailblazer, Collective Impact, Women of Courage. So tickets are, if they're not on sale, they will be on sale soon. We're hopefully going to announce those finalists in the next week or so. I'm happy to say we received almost 100 nominations for
Wow.
very worthy women to recognize here on the Space Coast. So we're excited about the announcement of our finalists. November 1st, we have our second annual Pro-Am. It's the only Pro-Am golf tournament on the Space Coast, hosted by Duran.
Do you golf?
I try.
You try?
Not very well.
Let's try together. Let's get a foursome
Yes,
together.
We should do that. We should do that. I'm not very good, but we will have. We have over 30 pros that come around
That's
from
awesome.
around Central Florida, and you register a threesome, and you get every threesome gets matched up with a pro, and it's a fun day there at Duran. It's a beautiful course.
Oh yeah, I just played it recently.
So we're excited to be hosting that event. That's November 1st. There's plenty of corporate cup slots open and other sponsorship opportunities.
There
and
you go.
Plenty of opportunity for golfers to sign up still. So look forward to hosting that event as well.
Well, we really hope you enjoyed this episode. Michael, thank you so much again. And any last words to like a business owner? Any kind of words of advice?
If you're looking to grow and expand and connect with your community, come to the Melbourne Regional Chamber and check us out. You will not be disappointed. We look forward to having you come in and say hello, and we'll do whatever we can to help you be successful.
And how do they find you?
Go to melbourneregionalchamber.com, or you can come to 1005 East Strawbridge in downtown Melbourne. But we're always open on the web and on Facebook as well. So come and check us out. We look forward to meeting you.
Awesome. Well, I hope you all tuning in, enjoyed the show, the conversation here with Michael Ayers, again, with the Melbourne Regional Chamber of Commerce. Michael, it was a pleasure.
No, it was my
We had a
pleasure.
good time, man. That was a good
fun.
time.
It went fast. I felt like we started 5 minutes ago. So this was great. I appreciate the opportunity.
Well, because it's there's so much going on.
I look forward to coming back and talking more about it.
Well, maybe we'll have an update after the program or something.
Let's do that.
You got it, buddy. Thanks again for tuning in. This has been another episode of Business Elite Brevard Edition with your host, Jesse Hall. Until next time, guys, have a great business week.